you can see a car that is going to crash. This one, it's just a miracle that will save it from crashing in the next 3 years.
At a time when they're saying it's gonna head over to 2032.
Oh, I wish them well, but I'm telling you, 2025, the level of debt, the level of unemployment, some of the ministers will not be able to fly their flags. I'm telling you the truth. The World Bank and IMF, they are Shylocks. How much are they lending to other countries of the world? How much are they lending to Africa? For every $1 that gets to Africa, $7 leave Africa. So the net effect, we are losing $6 every day, every moment that $1 gets to Africa.
We've seen a recent publication by the Washington Post being highly endorsed by the government, that which said Kenya is poised to be the Singapore of Africa. From where you see it as a taxpayer and also as a seasoned leader, how far are we from getting to be the Singapore of Africa? And you're just in time for Business Glide, your go-to point on matters public policy analysis, business and economics at large, hosted by yours truly, son of the soil, Richard Mwenje. And yet again, it is such a distinguished honor to have former Cabinet Minister Ruto and a renowned and celebrated public scholar with us today to look at some of the economic issues we're going to discuss. And at this particular juncture, allow me to bring him on board. Ruto.
Yes.
I'm so glad to meet you yet again.
It's my pleasure too.
And you're aging gracefully.
I thank God for it.
What's the secret though?
I drink a lot of milk.
A lot of milk and a bit of honey.
A bit of honey, and also I prefer fruits and vegetables. But at times, of course, nyama choma has to take shape.
Nyama choma to take shape?
Yeah, take shape, yeah. But indeed, I find, and also having a peace of mind. At times, I would want to advise people in leadership, don't be getting so annoyed. As you get annoyed, actually that annoyance consumes you. Those people in the health sector know that. That any time I'm bitter about you, I'm bitter about all these young men, that bitterness consumes me. So I usually, when I look at a situation that I cannot resolve, I just say, I thank God. I've noticed there is a problem, and because I cannot solve, let me not belabor my mind over things that I cannot resolve.
Could that perhaps have informed your exit from UDA, because you termed it a very toxic place and environment, perhaps informing your departure towards MEO?
It happened, we worked very well with President William Ruto as deputy president.
Sure.
And for 2 years, I was the deputy chairman of the party, and I was also part of the political bureau. Where we used to meet him every Tuesday afternoon to brief him on what the pulse rate of the nation politically. And any time I had one-to-one with him, it was candid and a true friendly kind of discussion. And towards the end, we had a lot of engagement with other players who eventually joined UDA, people like the current Chief Cabinet Secretary, Mudavadi, other people that I may not need to name. And that was an enterprise that I thought was going to assist us to balance the nation. Because this is a nation of nations. Because nation of nations in the sense that each community, they want to see one of their own at the bargaining table, because they believe the administration of the day has the resources to dispense. And therefore, if one of your own is not at that particular center, you run the risk of missing out in terms of bargain. Now, and as we were going towards that, it seems people thought I was leveraging myself at their own detriment, because the level of toxicity went up. You could see the body language, because those of us who have done management and leadership, you can read from the body language of an individual that not all is well. Somebody may smile, but you can see that smile is forced. Somebody may give you words of encouragement, but you'll realize it is not it's not genuine.
There's malice.
There is a bit of malice and there's some underlying ill motive. So, but the crux of the matter is that when the choice of running mate was mentioned, I felt that was not the team I was going to be part of.
The mention of the running mate?
Yes, because you see the members of parliament from central Kenya all the way to Meru voted. Out of 31, 27 voted for Professor Kindiki. Yeah. And 4 voted for our good friend, the current deputy president. And on Saturday, I read some unease because the others came, because there were many contenders apart from Rigathi Gachagua. There were other contenders like Kindiki, like Alice Wahome, like the current Attorney General, Justin Muturi. So, but we realized Rigathi came with a spouse, which means he seems to have had some story beyond us. So we stayed there up to about midnight. Thanks, my home is not far. The following day by 8, I got a call that, oh, what are you doing? Yeah, people have assembled. So I went, we sat down, and as we were seated, there was some discussion. So we realized things are not right. Then we assembled, and the choice was made. People stood to clap. I realized I was still down because I was dumbfounded. So I did not know what to do. Then the choice of running mate in Trans Nzoia. I had organized elders to go through some interview, pick 3, give to the candidate, that is the Honorable Chris Wamalwa. But through some mischievous ways, they picked somebody else who was not even qualified, in the sense that he did not resign 6 months before the election date.
Yeah, true.
So I realized, what am I doing here? If even Trans Nzoia, a place that I know, I may not be as popular as I should, or as people think, but I know the place. It's my home. And there's no single politician who can pretend he knows Trans Nzoia more than me, really. We may be at par with some of them, but most of them are people, they would defer to me when it comes to matters of Trans Nzoia. Then I realized that there's no deal. I walked out. And I'm happy I walked out, because I think I'd be a frustrated minister had I been in this regime.
You will have been a frustrated minister?
Had I been in this regime. Because I know possibly would have given me a position of a minister. And I would be a frustrated person.
But if you get that call today and they tell you, hey, come help us govern this country, would you go back there?
I think it's too late.
It's too late?
It's too late. It's
1 year into office and you're saying it's too late?
It's too late, because you see, you can see the train, you can see a car that is going to crash. This one, it's just a miracle that will save it from crashing in the next 3 years.
At a time when they're saying it's gonna head over to 2032?
Oh, I wish them well, but I'm telling you, 2025, the level of debt, the level of unemployment, some of the ministers will not be able to fly their flags. I'm telling you the truth.
Embarrassment and shame.
Yeah, shame and complete hostility from the people. 2025, I'm not telling you 2024, 2025, because the way these debts are maturing, the economy is not going to sustain. Today, debt to GDP is 72%. Today, for every 10 shillings we collect, 7 shillings go back to pay the debt. So where are we going to get the money for development, for recurrent?
In attempt to actually get the money to fix our debt obligation, the president said there is a plan in each of his travel. He's not a tourist. Would you then say that he's indeed going out there to look for money and resources to pay some of obligations such as debt?
Well, I do know, but you see, when you go to a Shylock, because I can tell you World Bank, and I can say it on camera, World Bank and IMF, they are Shylocks. How much are they lending to other countries of the world? How much are they lending to Africa? For every $6 that gets to Africa, $7 leave Africa. No, for every $1, for every $1 that gets to Africa, $7 leave Africa. So the net effect, we are losing $6 every day, every moment that $1 gets to Africa. Look at the billions in billions worth of oil in Angola. Angola is now poorer than it should have been. Why? Everything that is said to be brought in terms of oil and mining the oil goes back. Look at DRC. Why has DRC not become stable? From independence, you know, DRC, the first coup was 6 months after independence. The one that consumed Patrice Lumumba. Yeah, and many other leaders. It is because of the resources of Africa that we are unstable, because we are clients. African leaders are clients of our colonial masters. William Ruto is becoming a client of the World Bank and IMF. There is no way he can get out of the hole. 37 billion shillings that he got from India. You know, it's like you go to a Shylock, then you go to friends to give you money to pay a Shylock, where 10% per month. At the end of the year, it will, if you had borrowed 1 million, it will be 2 million or more.
As we actually speak, one of his biggest priorities is climate financing. And if you look at that huge investment he got from the recently concluded COP summit,
yes,
would you even say when it comes to other issues, forget even cost of living, climate financing, there's need for us to tread carefully when looking for funds to finance the same?
Well, I don't know. I don't know. You know, declaration. Let me declare something.
Sure.
I worked for IGAD as a special envoy to Somalia for 4 years for peace and national reconciliation. And those declarations do not amount to any money.
Really?
They don't amount to any money. The money that we'll get there will come through them, and they will take back that money as it gets in. You know, we tried, you go to Baris, you go to wherever, and they declare billions of billions. Then in between, they will give you conditions that our people, they have to do this. The companies that will come and do that is from there. So my worry is that some of those declarations, they are good for optics, but they are not effective for economics. Economic survival lies with the resources that we have as a country. We scale down. Scale down. If, let's say, for example, Richard,
sure,
if, let's say, you do not have food in the morning, you don't have food for lunch, and all of a sudden you've gone that you are bringing a suit, you're bringing what? Where is your economics? Why aren't you thinking of how to create a situation where children will have food, basic food? After that, they will be able to work and create more
sustainability.
Yes, sustainability. It is something that worries me every day.
Very well.
I'm not an economist, but I've done basic economics, international economics, during my MA. And you see, they are doing things that should not be done.
Very well.
Yeah.
Moving on swiftly on this conversation, we've seen a recent publication by the Washington Post being highly endorsed by the government, that which said Kenya is poised to be the Singapore of Africa. From where you see it as a taxpayer and also as a seasoned leader, how far are we from getting to be the Singapore of Africa?
Well, if we stop stealing, if we stop lying to the public, if we stop switching off generators to do shady business, if we stop talking of things that don't exist, and if we stop taxing Kenyans more.
Very well.
Yeah.
For us to get to that land, which is to be the Singapore of Africa, you've said first we need to look at graft, fighting graft. When the government came on board this new regime, it said we're going to form a commission to inquire on state capture and to look at the malice therein, and also to strengthen our graft fighting agencies, ESCC, DCI, you name them. This far, do you think it has made substantial and substantive investment in that particular line and literally helped in creation of utmost independence of those institutions to fight graft?
You know, institutions are not strengthened by talking. They are strengthened by action.
Sure.
Remember Kibaki won. He led this country through the old constitution. Actually, 8 years of Kibaki rule or Kibaki leadership was under the old constitution. But airwaves were freed. freedom was given. Policemen were arrested by Raila because they knew he had good intentions. Now, when you talk of state capture of certain institutions, talk about it and don't capture them. The laws that they are now proposing, that even they are removing the seal from the office of the Attorney General, they are taking more power to State House. They are appointing people without the knowledge of the ministers in certain parastatos. That is now state capture. So whatever they want to investigate, they will not be able to investigate themselves. If they were able to investigate, they should have told us the Njeri's oil, 17 billion. Whose was it? The edible oil that was said to be poisonous, now they are saying it is lacking certain elements, otherwise it is fit for human consumption.
Clean bill of health.
Yes, clean bill of health. Why? Why there's the ping pong? And who imported that oil, edible oil? The sugar laced with poison,
Mercury.
with mercury. Where is it? How did it end up disappearing in the stores in Thika? What happened? You know, these are basic things that you do not instill confidence in the mind of Kenyans. You don't need even to be a politician to realize that there is confusion. So my take is that I wish them well, but they should be realistic. Kenyans are very intelligent. This technology that you young people have exploited will expose you when you least expect. It is the old days. It was good because secret and confidential were files kept by officers of government. But today, you think you are secretive. Your information has gotten into your phone, telling us what is happening in Washington, what is happening in Dubai, who are members of the delegation of the president to Dubai. How are they behaving when they are in Dubai? You know, Richard, these things nowadays, they are it is so open that it is only a fool who doesn't see that they are in an open area.
Very well.
Yeah.
But then again, looking at how we can best reform service delivery in public service, there is a quarter that believes we should do away with cabinet reshuffles, instead go big on sacking. If you look at the mess in the energy sector, the national blackout, we've seen the mess even in other, such as agriculture docket, when it comes to subsidized fertilizer. Do you support the view that it is high time we go big on sacking of incompetent state officers rather than reshuffling?
I have three things, but not going to heaven.
Sure.
I have three things. One, the cabinet that the president has was the best team for his campaign. Some individuals could have been assigned to other roles, and others could have been retained in cabinet. I don't want to question their integrity, their capacity. But reading from whatever I get is that these cabinet ministers don't make decisions. These cabinet ministers don't take papers to cabinet for purposes of clearing, because you hear somebody making a statement that is contrary to another statement made by another person. For example, so that I don't look speculative, one minister said there are jobs in Canada. Later on, it was reversed. Another one said there was who is not minister for that department, docket, talked about sports in 2027.
Oh, yeah.
When it was not his docket.
Hosting rights.
Yeah. So some of those issues are sensitive. And the last time I knew is that collective responsibility ends with taking a common position to support your colleague. You don't make orders that are not within your docket. Because one of the ministers, as you know, sacked an OCS in Trans Nzoia.
True.
Really. That was not a docket. And even ministers don't sack. They are specific people who can be relieved by ministers. But officers of government, the public service has its own code, and the officers are protected. So you can't just sack. Even if you wanted somebody to be sacked, you have to communicate with your equal for that information to percolate down to that particular officer. You don't. Even when I was Minister for Agriculture, you cannot say I've sacked a DAO. You can remove the DAO from that particular station through order by talking to the PS or Director of Agriculture to remove that officer because the minister is not pleased. But you don't have the power. And even making that pronouncement is wrong. So I've said three things. So one thing is that this cabinet is not coordinated. So sacking people may not be an answer. And if they are not coordinated, ministers are not given time to serve in their dockets. The president seems to have enough time to know what is going on in every ministry, which is also wrong. As a president, you ought to deal with issues at the ministerial level. Whatever happens in departments of the ministry, those ones are either for the PS, for the minister, for the directors, because we have enough directors all the way down to a county. So those are the two major issues. The third issue is that these ministers have not been taken through proper brief. They seem to have gotten into the job and they were told to do presentation of what they want to do without them owning the ministry. The ministry, a good minister takes between 6 months and 18 months to know the ministry thoroughly.
Very well.
Even today, if you took me back to the Ministry of Agriculture, I will take about 3 months to reorient myself
Get the
with
lay
the
of the
going
land.
zone. Yeah. Otherwise, you cannot pretend that you know everything. Yeah, because those officers actually know more than ministers.
Really?
Yeah, it is you to encourage those officers to share information with you and to give you direction so that you don't just talk against the policy direction.
Very well.
Yeah, the government is engaging in.
Before we wrap up this conversation, on one of the sectors that we've mentioned, that is the energy sector. And as you know, energy sector is the drive of the economy. If you look at the recent high cost of living, it is far much, it has been fueled far much by the rise in palm prices, the rise in prices of electricity. From where is it as your footnote, looking at the latest crisis in the energy sector and even scandals therein, how best can we slay the giant that is the mess in the energy sector?
One of the ways is to reorganize that place. Reorganize in the sense that I know many of them are my relatives because they come from where I come from.
Sure.
But as long as you allow people to feel that area is their
Jurisdiction.
they are tough, then you run the risk of inbreeding. I think we need to stop inbreeding, allow Kenyans to serve the country the way they do. And I'm saying so because if you are to take a profile of various parastatals, you'll almost know who was here, which year, by the age of the people serving in that parastatal. Whether it's Kenya Power, you'll almost know that Kishuru was here at a certain period, Chuma was here at a certain period, so-and-so was here at a certain period, by the cadre of employees in that particular organization. So we cannot run away. We are still tribal as a nation, and the more we talk about it, and we talk about it openly, the better it is for this country.
Very well.
Yeah.
There you have it, that point by Kipruto Arap. Kira takes us to the wrap of this conversation, talking about rising issues in our economy, the cost of living, the mess in the energy sector, and also how best this government can actually fulfill its campaign manifesto and the plan for the country. That has been the conversation. Thank you so much for tuning in. Until we do this again next time, have yourself a good day.